To be honest, I was surprised these two made it as far as they did. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie Yates Anya, Steph Anya for short, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Today I'm going to be breaking down everything that we saw unfold between Monica and Steven on Love is Blind Season 7. If you're curious, stay tuned. I always want to say that there will be spoilers, and also remember that I have never met any of these people. I am not their therapist, and the insight I'm providing is based on an edited show. So we're only getting a glimpse into who these people are, and what we're talking about predominantly are going to be the relationship dynamics, so that if you see any of these things playing out in your life, you can more easily identify it. Without further ado, let's jump right in. So when we're introduced to Monica, she talks about how she has historically been pretty superficial with how she dates.
I have a typical type when it comes to men. Like, they're all hot. Arms tends to make me feel a little hot and bothered. There is a pattern there. Everything is outside first.
So of course, whenever someone says that on the show, my first concern is going to be how attracted will they be to this person? How long will they be able to stay attracted to this person? One of the first things that Steven says, and really the very first note I ever took on him, was something that I really disagreed with.
Here's what I believe. You like someone for their qualities, but you love someone for their flaws.
I've always been drawn to flaws.
And that for me was something that was concerning, because ideally when you are meeting someone and falling in love with them, you love them for all of their best attributes, and you can maybe accept their flaws, and the two of you identify what those flaws are, both the ones that you have, the ones they have, and work to improve. But the idea of loving a person for their flaws, to me, means that you're attracted to chaos, drama, challenge. It is one of those things where if you are attracted to a person for their flaws, that could be a recipe for disaster. So while we do accept and tolerate our partner's flaws, I thought that saying that we love a person for our flaws is something that I did not agree with. And I'm curious if that's something that you all agree with. Did you understand where Steven was coming from with that? How did you interpret what he meant by that? Then the next thing that he says in that same conversation is that he opens up about cheating in the past.
I technically hold the title of being a cheater. I've been cheated on multiple times as well.
Now, we've talked about on this channel before, I'm not one of those people who just believes once a cheater, always a cheater. I always believe in redemption, but that is of course going to be at least bare minimum a yellow flag, especially when he shared the reason why he cheated.
I believed that this person that I was dating at the time, I believed I didn't deserve her.
I loved the honesty that he felt like he wasn't deserving of her, which is most of the time I think what it is when you're looking at infidelity in a relationship. So I loved that level of insight, but it made me question, what work have you done to feel better about yourself so that you're in a situation like that again with someone and you might feel like you don't deserve them. You're not tempted to make choices that would put you in that same position, which, spoiler alert, we did see happen. Monica is very understanding throughout this exchange with Steven.
I was very disappointed with myself.
I'm so
And there was a lot
sorry.
And honestly, for me, as I was watching their dynamic, if they were a couple that was coming to me in session, I would be constantly questioning how well they're listening to each other, because some of the things that they were both saying were things that I would think would give both of them some pause, but they seemed to be kind of swept up in the idea of love being blind, and I wasn't sure how well they were listening to each other for what they could actually tolerate and deal with in a relationship. Then we start getting to where Steven talks about finding out that he's part Black.
My dad is actually like 3/5 or half Black.
And I thought that that was interesting, but what really stood out to me is that when Monica started sharing about her ethnic identity, racial identity, that he referred to her as a mutt.
I'm mixed, right? So my mom is from Honduras.
Okay.
Her parents are Honduran, but they are an interracial couple. And then my dad is African-American, Black. He has like some Cherokee ancestry that goes down.
So you really are a mutt, girl.
I'm a fucking mutt.
And she agreed with that. So again, some of those language choices I thought were very odd, and I wasn't sure were we just having a really, fun time where both of us could say whatever we want, or if this is again one of those yellow, maybe red flags where a person feels comfortable calling you something like that when they haven't even met you. So for me, again, that was a warning sign that there might not be the level of respect that a person would want to have in a relationship. But as always, I just have to keep my eyes open, because I could be jumping to conclusions and you have to really look for a pattern. And with us just meeting them, I hadn't seen a pattern yet. These are just things that I was filing away for later. After they shared that they fall in love, the next time we see them is Stephen proposing to Monica. So we really didn't see a ton of their evolution as a couple. I feel like they weren't really one of the main focuses that we saw. So I think for a lot of us, we probably were less invested in their story than some of the others. And so with Stephen and Monica, their relationship not being one of the focuses, I really didn't know how to feel about them, but I knew that I wasn't getting the best feeling about their compatibility. Sometimes the relationships feel like people who view someone proposing to them or getting engaged as the success. Like someone chose me as the success on the show instead of I found my person. And to me, that is the bigger focus, is knowing that you have your person. And these two kind of felt more like, yes, I found someone to accept my proposal. Yes, I found someone to propose to me. Let's make this work. That was just my feeling. I'm curious if you guys felt the same or differently. Then we get to the reveal, and Monica once again says that she easily gets the ick.
The physical piece of it, I'm hoping that feels really natural between us. Like, I can get the ick very easily. And I've gotten the ick from like the best looking men in the world. It has nothing to do with the physical. It's just that chemistry.
And this is a phrase that we're seeing a lot more. I always think it's interesting when you watch through every season of Love is Blind to see what is the popular phrase that everyone is saying. In this season, I feel like it was the ick. They kept talking about that. And for Monica, she was saying that she easily gets the ick. And so I was curious what she would think about Stephen, about his personality, about his looks, and vice versa. Of course, that's the big focus of every reveal. But she says,
You're so cute.
And he says,
You are, wow, gorgeous.
So we're to assume that they both found each other attractive. One thing that started making me concerned is that Monica was putting Stephen on a certain pedestal. And this is something that I see a lot of times that can be a major issue in relationships, is that your partner is either a hero or a villain. And so in this case, Monica was telling him all the time,
You're so handsome. Super.
and that pedestal is dangerous. But at the same time, in Monica's confessionals, it felt to me that she was proving not only to the audience, but to herself that a lot of the hangups she's had historically with dating did not apply here with Stephen. For example, she brings up his education.
I've definitely placed value on things like what prestigious university they went to and what fancy job they have. And like, he went to a 2-year college. He's an electrician. And like, I don't give a
And I was thinking, do you really not care? Because if that was the case, why are we talking about it, right? She'd be bringing it up in confessionals in a way that I didn't think was organic, because I'm thinking this is probably something that's top of mind. And it's something I pay a lot of attention to in sessions, is what is a person routing their conversations back to? I could ask any question and we keep landing in the same place. That usually means that this is something a person hasn't fully processed or accepted about how they're feeling. And so they keep coming back to it. And what Monica was doing really is saying, I believe, the opposite of how she was feeling. I can't say that for sure, but it did seem to me that she was trying very hard to prove that these things that historically would have bothered her aren't bothering her now, which to me suggested that maybe they were bothering her a bit, because if not, why are we talking about it? I had no idea about the level of education that Stephen had without Monica telling me that. We see this again when Monica says to the confessional,
Stephen is not someone that I would like walk up to and be like, you are the hottest guy here and I want to like take off your clothes. No, he isn't. But I think he's the hottest guy ever because I'm in love with him.
Now, what sense does that make? If he really is the hottest guy to you, then why do you need to say he isn't the hottest guy, right? That means that he's also not the hottest guy to you, because you're the person saying that. She's saying that because she's in love with him, all of these things that she would care about, she doesn't care about now. And to me, that was really just her suppressing whatever her real feelings were. I'd even go as far as to say maybe she was in denial about how she was actually feeling and not wanting to have those feelings because she wanted to have maybe one of those love stories that would be canonized as one of the great ones on the show. Now, I don't judge people for not finding someone attractive immediately when they meet them. The whole point of the show is trying to not go based on looks. So we're risking being with someone that we don't find attractive. I don't think that makes a person a bad person if they don't find someone immediately attractive right off of the bat. I've seen in other shows where a person doesn't find someone attractive, but that attraction attraction grows over time as you get to know them. And a lot of them have gone on to have very successful relationships. So sometimes I think it's better when we can just hear what you're honestly thinking, or just don't say anything at all about the looks or whatever is bothering you, because to me, it might be worse to try to continue convincing yourself publicly where it might be obvious to people that that's not really how you feel. What were your thoughts? Did you feel like Monica was being genuine about not caring about these things about Steven? Or did you also feel like she was saying those things to convince herself and the audience about feelings that maybe weren't really there? After the couples meet, Steven and Monica come back to the apartment and they are talking about what happened as they were meeting people, and Steven was talking a lot, and Monica told him that she can't get a word in.
I was so excited meeting everyone else because all it does is sort of...
I love you to death. I'm obsessed
I
with
might
you.
being chatty again.
Literally cannot get a word in.
I'm so sorry.
I'm obsessed with you, but like, Jesus Christ.
And you could see in her face, for me, when I'm paying attention to body language, disgust is one of the first things that will come up with a lot of couples, because it really gives me more insight than what they're saying about what their frustrations or annoyances are with their partner. And so when I was looking at Monica's face, to me, she looked like she was grossed out at the conversation that was happening and feeling like maybe a talkative man is something that historically has also turned her off, because she was frustrated that she couldn't get a word in, which is valid. It's frustrating to feel like there's not enough space for you in a conversation with anyone, let alone your partner. I thought it was good that she did communicate that to him, and it seemed like he took it well when she was communicating that to him, but it did seem like it was a little bit hard for them to bounce back from that.
I'll put this in my mouth instead.
It's very hard for me. I'm like, really trying to like what you have to say, but like, I have to.
You're right. You're right.
Come on.
Then we start getting into the conversation around love languages, where Monica says that she is a gifts person. And she tells Steven that he told her that he was going to bring her flowers and he never brought her flowers.
I feel like there is something that's been kind of weighing on me and like bothering me. I just want to like address it. In the pods, I remember you specifically telling me like, we're together, like I'm gonna get you flowers.
And so that part was interesting to me, because at that point, I'm assuming they'd only been out of the pods maybe for 2 or 3 days. At this point, they're still in Mexico. So it's interesting to see how Monica was expecting those flowers right away. And I couldn't tell if this was her establishing a test. Sometimes what I see with couples is that a person doesn't want to own their feelings about their partner. They don't want to own, for example, that they don't want to be with them anymore or don't find them attractive anymore. So they find other smaller things to be frustrated about, to kind of have a more tangible reason why it's not working out. So she's telling him that she wants flowers. At the beginning, I'm kind of taking it at face value, but I'm also looking at how long they've been together in the real world, the fact they're not even at home. And I thought that that was just interesting, that she was very frustrated because she brought it to him like it was something she'd been holding in for a while, which how long could you be holding that in? But we have seen where people have gotten people flowers even in the pods. Maybe the clock started even then. You know, she saw her friends in the pod get flowers over time, and maybe she's like, why am I one of the only people who never received that if I was told that I'd be getting them? And it is important to pay attention to a person's words versus their actions.
The actions matching up with the words, right? Like that's going to be really important to me.
So I do not fault her for that. I think it's good to say, okay, this is what you told me you were going to do and you're not doing that. And I also thought this opened up the floor for a great conversation around love languages.
You know the love languages. You know I'm a big words of affirmation, acts of service person, but my third one is gifts.
Steven says that gifts is his last love language.
Gifts has always been my last. Even for Christmas, I think the last time my family was able to like really provide gifts for everyone.
Yeah.
Years ago. I haven't really gotten a Christmas gift in like a long time.
And I thought that was very interesting to see the parallels in how they live and how their families love. And Monica looked at it, I think, as more of a class issue or a finance issue.
When it comes to our financial upbringing, I refuse to let that be the thing that ever like put space between us.
And I'm not sure if that's really what Steven was saying or not, but I do think it's interesting when you have two people who have very different love languages. I will just reiterate here, it is important to love your partner in their love language. One of the biggest issues that we see is that people focus on what they're most comfortable with. Like, I'm a quality time person. Of course, I love you. I'm always around you. And another person is like, yeah, well, I'm an acts of service person. So you being around me all of the time doesn't communicate that you love me as much as you helping out with some of of these chores, for example. So it is important to do both. You can show love in the way you're comfortable with, but it's more important to show love in the way your partner is comfortable with. So Monica communicating the flowers thing was a way of her saying, I need gifts to know that you're thinking about me. And just keep in mind, if a person is a gifts person, that does not typically mean they need expensive gifts. I think we had the funny joke about the Kate Spade bag.
It was like I know I don't have to get you something top quality like a Kate Spade bag. So something.
But I think that it's interesting when you really think about a gifts person just wants to know that you are thinking about them and you thought to pick something up or grab something for them. It could be as simple as a candy bar. It doesn't have to be very expensive. So it's one of those things where if you know that somebody in your life loves getting gifts, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. The fancy things are nice too, but keep in mind that that's not the only thing they're asking for. And I don't like the idea that because a person loves gifts that they're materialistic, which sometimes makes people not even admit that they love gifts because they're afraid that that's how it's going to come off, and that's not the case. When you give a person a gift, they have something tangible to look at, to feel, to taste, to remember your love. Another bit of frustration for Monica is when there are fireworks, when they get with the couples again and Steven doesn't come out there with her for the fireworks because he's speaking with Garrett. What I think is interesting about that situation is that both Garrett and Steven didn't come out, but Taylor wasn't really as frustrated about that as Monica.
That was so romantic. That was so romantic out there. Thank you so much for the romance.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So romantic. Holding all the other people together.
I was talking with Garrett about something serious. I'm sorry.
Okay.
And this is where, for me, it feels like with Monica, she was looking, I think, more for an archetype of a man. Like she wanted someone to get her flowers, someone to look at fireworks with. I don't know if she necessarily wanted Steven to be that man. So that's what I mean when I say that sometimes people come out of the pods just happy that someone proposed to them or that someone said yes to them, instead of really looking at this person as this is my person that I want to spend my life with. And so I think that her frustrations with Steven were more around what she always envisioned a partner doing with her and not necessarily the life that she imagined for her and Steven, if that makes sense. But this is where we really start seeing Steven's reputation going completely downhill. So once he starts talking about the conversation that he was having with Garrett, I'll have to just play a clip here.
It's gonna be a time for all of us where, like, if you make it on the show, regardless, like, you're going to eventually have women that are homewreckers out there that are like, I don't give a what your situation is. I want to suck your No, you're fine.
What's happening?
To me, even if you were having that conversation, why did you feel the need to tell not only Monica about it, but Garrett's fiance as well? That just felt very weird. And I started worrying about Steven in terms of his filter. Whenever I see a person who says or does certain things in public and they're comfortable doing that, it always makes me think, so what sort of things are you saying or doing in private? Because if you're comfortable talking like this while being recorded for millions to see, what are you doing where no one can see what you're saying or doing? That is ultimately what ended up happening. And this is what I started being worried about this moment, as well as a few moments before where I started being kind of worried about some of the things that Steven was comfortable saying.
I mean, I half expect just that blue wavy wall to be in a dress walking down that aisle, and I'd still be in love with it. You know, I mean, we'd have to figure out how things are going to work in the bedroom, but I mean, we'll get there when we get there. I mean, let's be honest. There's so many different things you could put your dick inside. Pineapple, bowl of macaroni and cheese. Wind blows in the right direction, and I'm like,
Another interesting thing, again, with Steven, a lot of it is language choices, right? So mutt, saying that you love a person for their flaws. And then when he said, if you make it on the show.
If you make it on the show, regardless, like, you're going to eventually.
So to me, that was an interesting thing to say because it made me wonder, is this just a show for you? Is this an opportunity, a platform for you to just show yourself? Or is this an opportunity to meet the love of your life? I started definitely being a little bit more concerned about his intentions after he made that statement. Because if you make it on the show, it almost feels like you're auditioning to be famous. That's the way that I interpreted it. And I'm curious about your interpretations of that. Monica brings the flowers up again.
Groceries. Wine, beer, flowers,
More beer,
more flowers,
more groceries,
and more
wine,
flowers.
more flowers.
And the next time we see them on a date, Steven takes Monica to do pressed flowers. And I was curious how she was going to respond to that, because sometimes I see a person establishing tests and there's no way for the person to pass the test. Monica did seem genuinely excited and happy about the pressed flowers. So I was happy to see that she was just communicating what she wanted from him and not just establishing a test for him to fail. But again, we were getting to the point where we couldn't have any sweet moments with the two of them without Steven bringing up sex in some form.
Flowers are nice, yes, but I'm sure there are people out there that are like, if I do this, I'm gonna get laid. Cool, and that is a great perk. I mean, let's be honest, if you do something right and you get rewarded with sex,
So again, it's like, are you doing this because you care about her, or are you doing this now because you are wanting her to reward you with sex? Is this something that you're doing out of love or something that you're doing transactionally? And so that was a concern of mine, is that with these two, I just did not understand what the foundation of their relationship was. We never really learned anything of depth that connected them. And that's part of why I don't think I ever fully invested in the relationship. Now, we did see that Steven had mentioned some doubts about getting married, or he was saying things that Monica was interpreting as him possibly having cold feet.
Really don't want to disappoint you. It's a lot.
What's a lot?
Moving forward with marriage, it's just like such a massive decision, and I just don't want to feel forced into doing something, because I don't think that's fair to you. If suddenly I'm having second thoughts, the next thing you know,
Are you like, I'm so confused.
And then we hear a little bit later that he lost his job.
first thing I asked when I got on site, I saw my foreman. I was like, hey man, do I still have a job? And he was like, no, like you didn't hear? It does suck, but I'm not stressing about it.
I'm assuming that happened after they already got engaged. They didn't talk about it before then. But then once again, as we're talking, having this serious conversation about finances, and Monica saying that she's got his back.
I'll be your sugar mama.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Again, we start talking about sex.
I mean, I am perfectly okay with you treating me like a piece of meat. I think it's hot. You know, if I come in and you're just like, drop them, I'm like, let's go. Okay, yes, man.
And Monica opens up to him that if he is having doubts about them getting married, it makes her uncomfortable moving forward with having sex with him.
This is amazing. But then when you started like having concerns about the wedding, it makes me be like, well, I'm not just gonna like bend over for my fiance who's now like not sure he wants to get married.
And I also do question at this point what her level of ick was with Steven during that conversation about women wanting to throw themselves at them if they make it on the show. She actually left that conversation. She left him and Taylor to have that conversation. I was thinking, poor Taylor. And I was thinking, you know, every time one of these instances happen, that her level of disdain towards Steven might be increasing. So even if it was partly about not feeling comfortable having sex with someone who she's not sure is going to move forward with marriage, I also think that there was a part of her that was probably quickly losing attraction to him. Then we get to the unexpected end of their relationship, where Monica reveals that she has read some inappropriate messages between Steven and someone that he was in a sleep study with.
Reading those text messages filled with fetishes and coming in, like, it's disgusting, Steven.
You're right.
And it seems like he is saying that he only did it because he was drunk and tired.
I did make a completely stupid mistake while being drunk at a sleep test.
You were doing it today, Steven. You texted her today. And the really gross ones were today.
I was just thinking, I'm glad Monica found this out early so she didn't have to go further in the process with him. Also, not get married to him.
I shouldn't have come on the show.
What a selfish thing to say.
But I feel like by that point, I was not very surprised about what Monica found out with Steven. And clearly, she probably wasn't either, right? She probably went looking because her intuition was telling her that something was off. Steven had been talking about sex so much throughout the show in moments that felt inappropriate or seemed inappropriate. And the content of what he was saying sometimes would feel off-putting. And I felt like Monica knew that something probably was going on. And I was happy she found out when she did. I don't really think these two ever had a chance at having a successful relationship, just based off of the fact that their connection felt superficial. I don't know if there really was a lot of depth to their conversations. I don't know if I really learned a ton about either of them through their conversations. I still feel like both of them were kind of falling into the roles of being fiancés without really looking at what their life would look like together. I'm curious, do you think that if Steven hadn't been unfaithful, that he and Monica would have moved forward with getting married. I don't think that they would have both said yes at the altar anyway. That's my belief. I'm curious what you all think. I do think it's interesting when they were at another couples mixer that we see that Monica says she and Steven has spoken on the phone for 2 hours.
I talked to Steven on the phone today for over 2 hours. Oh my God, okay, we're gonna tell us everything. I called. We just were able to talk through everything and be in a good place. There's no excuse for what he did, but like, he's a good person who... Stop.
She definitely seems like she has a big heart and she doesn't hold things against people. Garrett even mentions how she told him to check on Steven and how that's a reflection of her pure heart. And I do believe that Monica definitely cared about Steven. I just don't believe that Steven was her person. Even from the beginning, I just had a lot of doubts about this relationship. I also think it's interesting how Steven responded when Monica saw that he had been engaging with another woman.
Were you guys texting today?
No,
You weren't texting today. Okay, let me see your phone.
I deleted the message.
Of course you did.
What he was saying was not matching what Monica saw, so it seems like he was lying.
This is the weird part, and nobody's gonna believe this, but I only talked to her that one day. I've never met this girl in person.
I know that those texts were very long. Like, they went a ways back. I mean, you didn't start texting her that day on Instagram.
No, I've known her for years. Those
Okay,
texts
yeah,
are just, I don't delete my text threads.
What was going on makes me wonder how long things really had been going on. And then also I thought it was interesting how he immediately moved into self-loathing and self-deprecating, like, I don't deserve you, I'm gonna get out your face.
I definitely don't deserve much.
And while obviously his actions show that he wasn't deserving of a person who was going to be faithful with him, I did think that it was interesting that he jumped right into that to kind of, I thought, escape the conversation by just giving her what she wants and leaving the room. Surprisingly, I think that he was worried about his image on the show and he didn't want to go too far into detail on camera about what happened. That's probably how they ended up having that 2-hour conversation off camera. So those are my impressions of Monica and Steven. Honestly, this is a couple that I personally never thought would make it, only because it felt like their connection was superficial and I never really saw them lean into true vulnerability with one another. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. Did you have high hopes for Monica and Steven? Let me know in the comments below. My goal with these videos is to help highlight dynamics that I see play out in session so that you all have visuals for things that you or maybe people you love may be dealing with in their relationships. So please always, I love to read your comments where you share about things that resonate with you from the video. That helps me know also what type of videos that I might need to go in more detail on in terms of certain relational dynamics. I ask that you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and be sure to share it with anyone that you think may find it entertaining or educational. I appreciate you for watching this video all the way until the end. You didn't have to do that, but the fact that you did helps me out so much. So thank you, thank you, thank you.